Welcome to another episode of the Office Altering Hire and Empower with Molly McGrath podcast. If you're a returning listener, welcome back. If you're a first-time listener, hopefully you'll become a long-time listener. As always, I'm your show host, Molly McGrath, founder of Hiring and Empowering Solutions and creator of this revolutionary podcast. You can check us out at hiringandempowering.com. All right, guys, I am so pumped about today's guest. You've been hearing me talk about OnlineJobs.PH. If you're in my law firm admin bootcamp and academy, you know that the majority of the marketing coordinators and now an increase in intake coordinators for law firms are from the Philippines. I am so excited to have the founder of OnlineJobs.PH, John Jonas, here with us today as our guest. I can't believe you said yes to talking to me.
So what I've found for my business, for OnlineJobs.PH, is that creating content is like the number one business building activity that we do. And actually, in relation to that, I have a couple friends that are attorneys, and they found the same thing. Producing content is the number one business building activity that they do. Interesting.
Very interesting, because if you've ever talked with your lawyer friends, there's a few things. Number one, they were afraid, typically, historically, I've been in the legal space for almost 30 years. When you talk about marketing, they crumble. Oh, the bar association, and it's all this fear mongering. And then when you talk about staffing overseas, forget it. Like they just will paralyze. And what happens? The pandemic and COVID happens, and they're forced to have an online business. They're forced to embrace technology. They're forced to start embracing offshore, overseas staffing, what have you. And it's the greatest disruptor that's ever happened for the legal space.
And for so many other things. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So you and I were chatting a little bit, and I'd love for you to just kind of give us your backstory quickly in regards to why OnlineJobs.PH. For anyone who doesn't know, that stands for Philippines.
Yeah. So I was drowning in my business. I was doing stuff online. I needed to hire people. I had tried multiple things. I had tried hiring local people. It just wasn't working out. I had tried India, and it was a disaster. And then I tried Upwork, which it wasn't even Upwork at the time. It was Elance or Odesk before Elance and Odesk merged into one. And I thought that was it. And it's just based on hiring a freelancer where they're hourly or per project, and it's intended to be short-term contract based, which seems like the perfect solution until you get work back from them and they're done, and their goal, the platform's goal for them, is to move on, to get a job, get paid, get a review so they can get another job being paid more. What I didn't realize at the time was that just means 100% turnover for me. And that when I realized that was the biggest outsourcing revelation, because most people just think, oh, contract work, it's low commitment, it's low. I don't, if it doesn't work out, then I'm not on the hook, or if they're not working, then I don't have to pay them. Yeah, well, what you don't realize is that equals turnover. And that's so much worse than the commitment to pay someone or the salary or it's so much worse than anything that could possibly go wrong with hiring someone full-time out of the Philippines. Of course, I didn't know that at the time. I ended up getting a good reference to hiring someone in the Philippines. It had to be full-time, and which now it doesn't have to be full-time, but it did. I didn't know if I could do that. I didn't know if I could manage it. I didn't know if they could do good work. I ended up realizing it doesn't matter. None of this matters, because I can't keep going the way I'm going. There's just too much. And so I hired someone in the Philippines full-time. It changed my life. It was like there were two of me all of a sudden, where I could assign him to do anything I wanted him to do. I just had to teach him how to do it. But he was doing things that taking things off of my plate. After a couple of years of doing that, people were asking me all the time, how are you doing this? How are you doing this? How are you doing this? So I started doing a little bit of teaching of it. And the demand was out of control. Like it was taking all of the time from what I was currently working on. And still then finding people in the Philippines was really, really hard. You had to go through an agency. Agencies aren't that good at finding people generally. And so I decided one day, I want a better way to find someone because I wanted to recruit someone. I just want to find someone myself. I don't want to go to an agency and tell them what I want and them find a mediocre person for me. I want to find someone myself. And I thought maybe there's a better way. Maybe I can create a marketplace and maybe I can get a few hundred profiles of Filipino workers in there and then I could recruit from that. So I went back to the agency and asked them for a programmer and we built OnlineJobs.PH and we got a couple hundred profiles in the first month, which I had no idea that would be the case. And then it snowballed from there. So to where we're approaching 3 million profiles now. And we've had over 500,000 employers use it to find people in the Philippines and people from all industries, all walks of life, all countries, hiring people in the Philippines from like super newbie solopreneurs to established entrepreneurs, small business owners, insurance agent, realtors, attorneys, law offices. I'm going to have someone this morning from a law firm say thank you so much for this. To like Google and Uber and Canva and Speedo, all using OnlineJobs.PH. So it's like I had no idea this was what was coming, but that's where it ended up.
Why the Philippines? Like on the other side of all this, what I know my answer and I'll give you my 2 cents after, but why the Philippines? Like, why are
Yeah.
you so attracted?
So, and I didn't know this at the time when I was talking with the owner of backcountry.com. Backcountry.com is the largest online retailer of outdoor gear. And I just happened to meet the owner and we were talking about some of the things we were doing. And he said, when you're ready to start outsourcing some of this stuff, make sure you go to the Philippines with it. And I was like, really? And he gave me some reasons and a reference. What I didn't know at the time was the Philippines is a very, very westernized country. They watch American TV. They watch the NBA. They watch American Idol. They're very westernized as far as Asia goes. They are very honest. Like the culture of it's a very rule following country. So they want to be honest with you. And especially with foreign employers, they look up to foreigners, which is different than most of the world, especially with looking up to the US, right? Where, like, if you go to India, they're going to talk about their idiot American boss. And the Philippines is not like that. It's different. They speak American English, which is a really big deal. In fact, the government years ago realized they have a real big language problem in the Philippines where they speak 128 different languages. And if you go from island to island, you can't speak to each other. So the government mandated everyone learns English. Now, not everyone has, but literally tens of millions of people have, and they speak it really well. They are very hardworking. They are pleasing by nature. So there's this really big set of cultural characteristics that you don't find in other places, that when you combine these things together, it makes for really, really great full-time independent contractors. Because they're not employees. You can't classify them as an employee under, I mean, you can go and read anything you want. The Philippines government will not allow you to classify them as an employee. So they are an independent contractor, but full-time, and they work in my business and for me. And it's a different experience. Employers have a different experience in the Philippines than anywhere else in the world.
I would fully agree. Fully agree. So before finding OnlineJobs.PH, and for my attorney skeptic listeners, listen to this. This is how I found, I was like, the Philippines, oh, I had a horrible experience in India. I'm like, no, absolutely not. And then I had another agency where they'd hire people from South Africa, what have you. And I had a decent experience. And I had an attorney, estate planning attorney in Seattle, and he was selling his law firm. And he texts me and he goes, "Hey, selling my law firm. I have a rock star employee that I hired 5 years ago. Do you want her?" And I'm like, "All right, where's she from?" "Philippines." I'm like, "I'll get in a Zoom room with her, what have you." Show up. After 5 minutes, I hired her full time immediately. And then I did it again and again and again. So now I have four. I just onboarded another four full-time people from OnlineJobs.PH. They all replace US based employees. Cost savings through the roof. But I'll tell you, this is what I realized with Ria. And oh, this girl brings me to tears. Like, I'm not kidding you.
So
So,
wait, let me stop you.
yeah,
Before you go any further with that, um, this is odd, but you
yes,
just mentioned Ria.
yeah,
Don't go any further into who she is. People listening to this will go, people are always concerned about finding someone they can trust. It's not that hard. I mean, you know this is not hard. But anytime you give people's names, people listening will go and try and find that person and try and hire them away from you. I,
yeah.
so anybody listening, when you go and hire someone, you can talk about how amazing you people are. That's great. Just don't talk about who they are. There's
Oh,
some advice for you.
thank you for that
Don't give
one.
names. No, continue.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It doesn't matter if you went to her, she'd say, "No way, Jose, am I ever leaving
Probably,
Molly?" Yeah,
probably.
yeah. But anyways, I find her, and this is what I would say about what's different about Philippines and anywhere. And I've asked my people this question. Um, as a culture, it is embedded in them to never disappoint. Like you said, they're honest and they're full of integrity, which is a blessing and a curse, right? So I could, when you pay attention to their body language and their tonality and what have you, I'm like, time out. Like, am I asking you something more than you can take on? What have you? And it took a while to teach them that because they're also afraid that they'd be replaced and out of a job. As a culture, which I think is a really cool thing, this is what I've heard, is that they're unlike Americans who have entitlement mentality by and large, they really truly don't want to disappoint. They're deathly afraid of getting replaced or fired. So they are continually overperform. As a business owner, like, sweet, I'm getting all this, but I like to coach them and really train them. I feel it's my job as an employer, not W-2, what have you, but of giving them this opportunity to really train them into really healthy boundaries, how to project manage, how to communicate, how to clarify, verify, things of that nature. And it's really cool to watch my people from the Philippines really step up and lead. And finally, for the first time, of what they're telling me is they're given this opportunity that their voice matters, their mind matters, their input matters, and their opportunities are endless as long as they're willing to instill those kind of soft skills.
Okay, so I have two things from what you're saying. Number one, you're experiencing this because you're a good employer. And it does require that. It requires you to be it requires you to be a good human being
Yes.
if you're going to succeed with this, right?
Yes.
You can't be a crappy, selfish, I don't give a crap about you, just do your work, and that will not work with the Philippines. So
No.
that's number one. You have to treat them well because that's what they care about. Um, Number two is you said that she probably wouldn't. She if someone approached Ria, she probably would say, "No, sorry, I already work for Molly." That's one of the cultural things I didn't talk about was their loyalty. The Philippines
Oh,
culture has it's almost to a fault where they are so loyal.
yes.
As long as you treat them well, they'll never stop working for you. So, like the first person I ever hired through the agency still works for me today. That was 2005. Um, and I have, I mean, the first programmer, no, it's not the first. The second programmer I ever hired still works for me today. That was 2006. And I have lots and lots of other people. The first programmer I ever hired, here's the loyalty thing. I would put him up against anybody in the world. And that's how good he was. I was paying the agency $750 a month. They were paying him $250 a month, full time, right? And when he found that out, he was like, "Oh, I quit." And I was like, "Oh no, you can't quit." So he left the agency, which is totally against the rules. I doubled his salary. I started paying him $500 a month, right? $500 a month. This is 2006 for full-time work. As I was a programmer. I would put him up against anybody. Amazing talent, right? And a couple years in, he says, "Sir, I'm sorry. I accepted a job in Singapore," which this is the Philippines' dream, is to go work overseas, leave your family at home, go work overseas so you can make enough money to provide for your family. Because in the Philippines, often it's just not an option. Like there just
Right.
aren't jobs, right? So he gets this job in Singapore. He's going to make $4,000 a month, right? And he said, "But don't worry, sir. I'm still going to continue working for you, just part time at the current rate you're paying me." So he's so loyal that, yeah, he's going to take this job. And I was like, "Yeah, you should do this. You got to do this, right?" Um, but he's going to continue to working 20 hours a week at $250 a month for me, right? And that's a big deal to a small business, that you
Yes.
find someone that's loyal, and if you treat them well, they're going to continue to work for you. And he doesn't work for me now, but we still have a relationship. I still communicate with him today because he's loyal and he's great and he's amazing, right? And people will find that as long as you treat them well.
As long as you treat them well and you give them an opportunity, and how great for it. It's just a testament to the relationship and the culture you built for him to even come to you and be like, "All right, bud, I got this deal. Here's what's going on." In America, they would just leave. They make up crap. They're like, "Oh, my mother's dying. I gotta go," whatever. They don't give you the truth. And that's what I love about that example that you say. You treat them well and you invest in them. You pour into them. One of my most recent hires full time, one of the first things I do is I have them track their time and send it to me every day. Not because I don't trust them. And I'm very clear on that up front. I want to see how long it's taking you to do an activity, especially if it's something that I'm adding that's new, podcast production or whatever it is to their list, and send it back to me. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, wait a minute. I just literally this morning just bought a brand new computer for one of my Philippine girls. She's been with me for about 6 weeks now, and I shipped it to her. And here's why, because I'm looking at her time like, wait, why is it taking you this long? Well, I find out her computer's old. It's taking this long to reboot, what have you. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, here's a new computer. I'm sending it to you because I win with this and you do as well. I mean, she's in tears about it because all the things that she can do with this new computer. Oh, well, then I can start doing this and this and this, and all excited about it.
Right.
It's just they're lifetime learners, and anything that you give, to my experience, to anyone in the Philippines, they will go and figure it out. I do a 30-day review with each one of them. And my marketing coordinator says to me, "I want to learn Facebook ads because then you can stop paying your agency," which, by the way, I'm paying them $3,500 a month. And, if I learn this, and I'm like, "Great. What class do you want me to enroll you in?" So now this is her 30-day rock. She wants to learn it. She's learning. I'm saving money. Like the strategic byproducts that come out. And I feel so good, as it going back to your human being thing, right? It's a relationship. And I think so often outsourcing, I don't have time to train them. I don't have time to onboard them. What about the language barrier and all the head trash that we have around that? It's like, well, think about it. If you're like have so much bunged up energy about this for overseas, you're probably doing it with your US people anyways, that you're not giving them the time, the attention, the feedback, the coaching, the leadership, which I think is number one job description that we have as entrepreneurs. So,
Yeah.
you think it's not going to work overseas, it's probably not working here in your own office.
So can we take a step back for a second? Because I don't know how many of your clients already have people in the Philippines, or how many people listening to this already.
They're
So
embracing it more than ever.
good. Okay. So I can imagine people that are hearing this newly, or who have hesitated, one of their first questions is, oh, but like, what can they actually do? And you're saying, I know, you roll your eyes. I get it. And I do the same thing because it's shocking what they can do. Right. So I'll give two examples. My brother's an attorney, and he hired an attorney in the Philippines. I think it was like $600 a month for full-time work. And she reviews contracts for him. Right. Okay. So then I got an email from another attorney who said, we have, what did she say? We call them our international paralegals because they can't legally act as an attorney, even though
Yes.
they have a law degree in the Philippines. And she said they take so much burden off of our attorneys, right?
Yes.
And then you have like, you can hire someone who's a complete newbie and they're super, super affordable, $250. And I had someone today say they hired someone at $287 an hour, which I think is pretty low. Like
Yeah.
it's too low. Let's start
Yeah.
at like $354 an hour for someone who doesn't know anything, right? Or you want people who do know stuff. Okay, well, you can hire someone that will run Google ads for you, or run Facebook ads for you, or run your social media marketing, or do SEO, or do programming, or build your website, or build a custom website, or write a book for you. Or I mean, the talent is so incredible. I saw a dentist once who had hired someone in the he could not keep admin staff in his office. So he hired someone in the Philippines, stuck a monitor on the reception desk, and had her online on the monitor. Someone walks in, they see a computer monitor and a girl in the Philippines who says, hey, welcome to our office. You must be whatever the name is of someone who's coming in at this time, right? Okay, great. On the desk are these papers, fill them out, whatever, right? He got
Wow.
rid of office staff and hired someone in the Philippines. They speak perfect English. They're super polite. They're really talented, experienced with admin work. So you can have people doing cold calling. You can have people answering phones. You can, anything that can be done online, on a computer, on a phone, can be done in the Philippines. And people are finding, I mean, you can find really, really talented people to do it. So anyway, I want to take a step back because I knew people are questioning this. And then how much does it cost? Well, I have 40 full-time people that work between $400 and $2,000 a month full-time. And in that range, we have like data entry beginner people to like super, super talented graphic design or user interface design, programming, ads management, project management, content writing, copywriting, all of it.
Yes. And going back to the lawyer reference, that's many of my attorneys. They have paralegals based in the US that are attorneys in the Philippines. And same thing, they're calling them their international paralegals, what have you, intake coordinators. So I have a program called the Law Firm Admin Boot Camp, and many of my attorneys are now embracing OnlineJobs.PH, hiring marketing coordinators, and then they come to my boot camp and I'm training them on how to manage, lead, facilitate conversation and meetings with attorneys, because the attorneys are hardcore and they're very, very precise. And if you F up once, then their faith and confidence goes in the toilet and blah, blah, blah. And all the story making goes. This is why virtual doesn't work, what have you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, it's a communication breakdown. And I don't mean language. I mean, in regards to, so I'm teaching them. It's really fun because this morning I had an onboarding call with Filipino from OnlineJobs.PH. He just joined my boot camp, right? And he gets in there and I'm like, all right, great. Here's your kickoff. Going to show you how to navigate the back end of the program or what have you. This kid had devoured like 30% of the program. He's like, I already went through how to run a weekly marketing meeting. I have the agenda. I have 4 questions about when you talk about this part, I'm only doing digital and social. But when you're talking about graphics, I'm like, oh my God, I have people in the US that go in this program, like, I don't have time to do it. And they're just like, They are in there. So every position can be filled, from a marketing coordinator to an intake coordinator. And so often US based employers, like, I don't have time to train them. There's no more excuses anymore in this day and age. Education and empowerment are available at the snap of a finger.
Or
And
even you
yeah,
don't have time to train them. What? That's like the number one highest ROI activity you can do. What
right.
do you mean? You don't like you can't take a step back. And this is one of the biggest problems. You can't take a step back to make your business grow because you're so busy in the weeds
Yes.
that growing the business is not even possible. I can't train someone. I'm too busy. Maybe you should reevaluate what you're doing and what you're working on and how you're spending your time. Because if you're too busy to grow your business, man, that's rough. Like you never get time back if you're at that point. You've got to take a step back. Training someone is number one. Number two ROI. The number one ROI time you can spend is hiring someone. Number
Right.
one ROI time. Number two, training that person.
And like, what's your definition of training? To your point, it's so funny that you say all the attorneys right now are like gangbuster over this book, Buy Back Your Time. And they're all, which is great. And now they're finally embracing it. I can hire someone for part-time to handle my email or whatever it might be. But you keep using the word that has them. It's such a trap. I'm too busy. I'm too busy. I'm too busy. I'm too busy. It's like the vicious cycle. Well, when are you going to wake up and have nothing on your calendar?
Mm-hmm.
Because you have
Never.
bigger problems if that's happening. And like the mindset around, I'm too busy in this word training. And I keep telling, like, especially this is what I love about hiring overseas and for virtual assistants and what have you. It causes you to get really clear on what you want. It causes you to prepare before you meet with your VA in the Zoom room or however you're meeting with them, what have you. It's causing you, and a lot of times I think busy is a trap because you're like, I don't even know what I want. I just don't even know how to get off this hamster wheel. So for me, and for a lot of my law firms, it's a massive accountability for clarity and for being really clear on what it is that you want and what is you need to delegate. And I think that's the biggest problem, whether it's US based or what have you. The other thing is this term training, which I hate. Like, like it's not training. Just think of it that you're just going to pause and actually connect with another human being and be present for them. Because really, I think that's the root cause. It is nothing, I don't have time to train them. No, you're just not giving people the time and respect to actually just power down and be present with them. Because this is my experience with all of my people from OnlineJobs.PH. I literally will get in the Zoom room and I'm like, let's hit record. Let's get Otter AI on here. Let's get it transcribed. I'm going a million miles an hour and I'm taking full ownership and responsibility for that right now. And I just need to do a brain dump right here. I will literally wake up the next morning and there's a Trello board, a separate Trello board with the 14 different topics that I discuss, and they begin to organize it. And then it's just one small step at a time. You're like, hold the puke bucket. I'm puking everything out that I have in my head, my heart, in my calendar that's driving me crazy. And I'm going to trust you to go organize it for me. That's training.
So let me give two thoughts here. Because I want to give an alternative training method. Because to me, the idea of getting on a Zoom call with someone, especially someone overseas, gives me it gives me anxiety, and I don't have anxiety over many things. So, taking a step back to what we were talking about, um, I find that hiring someone from the Philippines, someone overseas, whatever, is the number one cause of transitioning from grunt worker to CEO.
Mm.
And you don't think about this. You don't real. Oh, I'm running a business here. I'm so busy. I'm too busy. No, you're a grunt worker. You are wearing every hat and doing all these silly, silly things. And it's when you hire someone full-time and make that commitment that I'm going to pay this person and I'm going to grow my business, you must step back and work on the business. Okay. So then training, I never, ever get on the phone with people.
Oh,
I can count maybe on one hand, maybe two hands in since 2005, the number of times I've gotten on the phone with people. I always only use recorded video. I use
oh,
Snagit, same thing as Loom or Tiny Take or Screencast-O-Matic. I use Snagit because it's the best. And I drag it out on my screen and I do exactly what you just said, except I don't do it live with them. I do a brain dump. While I'm recording my screen, I can just talk through anything. I can put my face in the corner so they can see me. And then I can just record my screen. Like, here's what I'm doing. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to look at this and I want you to look at that. Go take this piece of data and I want you to put it here and I want you to gather this. But think about this and this and this. I'm just recording my screen and my voice and my mouse. And sometimes I'll stop. And the real magic of Snagit and all these things is you just stop and click upload and it's done. You don't have to deal with FTP or servers or anything. It just uploads to the cloud, right? And you click paste in an email and they get the video. And sometimes I'll do it 2 or 3 or 4 times, whatever. And then it allows them to watch that back, however many times they need to. So they can, because it's just recorded training. And then I say in it, I need to know your thoughts on this. I need to know your questions because, and this took me a long time to realize that you have to add this part. I've probably left things out. I've probably assumed things in this because I have a bunch of knowledge. So I need you to come to me with questions. Like I probably wasn't clear about any of this. I don't know. And I know that because I've gone back and looked at my own trainings when they've done things wrong and wrong and wrong, that I go back and look at my trainings that I thought were so clear because I went over it so much. And I was like, oh my gosh, my training is garbage. I can now see why you did this wrong because I'm terrible at this, right? So, but that's another alternative where you don't have to get on a video.
Yes.
You just record and you send it to them and it's asynchronous communication. I don't have to be on their time zone. I don't have to coordinate time zones. I don't have to have them up in the middle of the night. They get to go through it and watch it over and over again and they can send me stuff and then I can do it again the next day. And this is how, so I told you I ski almost every day. This is how I do it because that training or communication or whatever it is takes me 5 minutes, not even every day. Because once we get it right, then I'm done with it, right? But it only takes me a couple minutes. And then I don't do any work myself. I only assign things to other people. And it took me years to get to that point, but you hire one more and you hire one more and you hire one more and you get a really good team built. And yeah.
I love that because I'm even thinking of my attorneys who their team members complain that they wake up in the morning and they have 47 emails with them that are 14 paragraphs with no clear direction, what have you. But what I love about that for our attorney listeners, think about that. You wake up, it's 10 o'clock at night, you just put the kids to bed. You're all fired up because this isn't working, this being delegated up to you. You just record this Snagit or Loom, boom, share your screen, show them, send it. I mean, imagine how you're going to sleep at night. You can't do that for your people in the US. They'll lose their mind. Yeah.
And then people are always so concerned with creating SOPs. And
oh my God. Yes.
I hate SOPs.
Me too.
I hate it. I hate doing it. It's like the number one stumbling block that I see that holds people back. Like, oh, I can't hire someone until I'm organized and I have my SOPs in place. Look, the E-Myth was awesome. Right? Michael Gerber, great, right? But that's for a culture where you have people who are unloyal and don't work for a long time and are quitting and leave, right? That's not what I'm dealing with. And so creating these SOPs, well, you create an SOP for someone ahead of time, you left out a bunch of crap. Your SOP kind of sucks. And then you don't realize, oh, they're actually doing this that I described. They already know how to do that. And what I didn't describe, they left out or they don't know how to do. And you don't find that until after you've hired them.
Right.
So I create these videos. all go into a repository. Those videos never disappear. So am I creating an SOP? Sure.
Yes.
I'm creating it over time as I realize, oh yeah, this part that I described was unnecessary. I left out this piece. Let's do it again, right? Here's another video. In the future, if I need someone else, well, you can watch these 8 videos that I created over 2 weeks' time. And now you get the whole process. You get them all, they're all right there, right? Still in the same place.
And not only that, but then they change because of technology and because of innovation.
And then you
what
create
have
another
you.
one.
You create
Right?
another
The
one.
knowledge is all still there, but the exact details now change. And so you give them new, super simple, or you don't give them new. You have the current person that's doing it create another video for you. And now they're updating the training, right?
I love it. Tell our listeners about OnlineJobs.PH and how this is a no-brainer. What is it, $69 a month or something?
So consider that $69 a recruiting fee. You only pay
Yes.
it when you're recruiting. You can cancel as soon as you find someone. You don't have to keep paying us. That person works for you. They don't work for us. You don't pay us and we pay them. I mean, we have a payment service where you can pay through us, but it actually just uses another company. You can pay through PayPal or Wise or Payoneer or Western Union, or it doesn't matter. We don't mark up salaries. We just provide a platform for you to find great people. I'll give you a really quick how I do this. I go into this in really great detail at onevaoa.com. I'm in great detail while trying to keep it really fast and short because I know nobody has time. Everybody's too busy to hire someone, right? So I created this because I don't want to hire someone. I'm really good at it, but I don't want to do it, right? Nobody wants to do this. So this is my process. Number one, I go to OnlineJobs.PH and I search for the skill that I'm looking for just to know what is out there. And I'm going to look at a couple of profiles, 20 profiles, 10 profiles, 6, whatever. I'm just going to look and see what are the skills that exist and how much are they looking to make. Then I'm going to post a job. And my job post, now I already have a pretty good idea of what skills exist. Job post is pretty easy to write because it's not super detailed with all my employment policies. It's pretty basic. I avoid corporate stiffness and corporate formality. While you can include those things if you want, it's not my personality to do so. I may also contact some of the people from the profiles that I found. I may just send them, hey, I'm looking to hire someone. Are you interested in work? Here's my situation. So then I'll take all the responses that I get, the applications to the job post, which in the job post, I always make sure to include something that forces them to tell me that they read the job post. So like I will say, make the subject of your job post paralegal dash your name here, right?
Yeah.
So that I want anything that doesn't include paralegal dash their name, I'm just not going to look at it because you didn't read my job post. So from there, when I get job posts, I'm going to read them briefly. I'm not going to go into detail on their profiles. I'm not going to go research their background. I'm just going to start asking them questions through email. I'm not going to schedule a Zoom meeting with them. The first thing most people want to do is schedule a Zoom meeting. It's the wrong way to go about this, in my opinion, in my experience. In the Philippines, they do not want to get on a Zoom meeting with you, at least not until they trust you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to send emails to people. I'm going to ask 2, 3, 4 questions across in different questions across 3, 4, 5, 10 emails. And the point is, when I work with someone, it's going to be a virtual working relationship. I'm not getting on the phone with people. So I'm going to interview them the same way that I would work with them. Also, in doing this, you get to see a lot about their personality. And if you really want to get into a Zoom meeting with them, you've now gained their trust. And now as you narrow it down, which sending an email, especially if you're copying and pasting the same questions, takes 20 seconds. Getting on a Zoom meeting with people takes 20 minutes, right? So I can do this a whole bunch of times, narrow it down way easier, then do a Zoom meeting. And what I find is I will drop people out based off of their responses. People will drop themselves out. They won't respond because they realize, oh, I'm serious and I'm going to filter people out. And any scammer is not going to come through this process, right?
Right.
Which there are a few scammers, but um, anybody who's lazy, not going to come through the process. And then you can do the Zoom interview. Then you can do a test task. If the test task is going to take longer than 20 or 30 minutes, you should probably pay them for that. And now you'll have a really, really good idea of who to hire. That's my process of how I do this. Then you negotiate salary and negotiate working time, or you tell them what you want or what you need, and they accept. And
Yeah.
and you can say, when can you start? Oh, I can start tomorrow, sir. Oh, okay, sweet. I'll create a video for you right now and snag it.
Right? I did it mine even a little, I streamlined it a little bit more. So I did the same thing, looked at the profiles. Then I put an ad when I hired my second one because I got my first one from my attorney and friend. And I put in the job ad, please make me a video and answer these 5 questions. Question number 1 was, how much an hour do you want? Number 2, how many hours are you available each week? And then number 3, tell me why you're the best person for this recruiting position, so to speak, right? It's really fascinating because I get videos back from some people and say, I'm a really good executive assistant, and here's why. I'm like, that's not the position. So you're just copying and pasting a video. Other ones would be like, hi, Molly, nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. And really and I sprinkled details about my company in there. I went to your website, I looked at your blogs, and I'm like, great, this person's resourceful. They do their due diligence, they're detailed. And that was really cool for me because I'd get videos and I'd go through all those videos in less than an hour. I'm like, all right, you're hired. And I hired 2 people right off of that. And so I love your process.
I'll do the videos too. I usually just do it farther into the process after a couple emails. I find
Yeah.
the emails just filter people first. Like, and then yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Doesn't,
Anyways,
doesn't
but
matter. I mean,
no excuses.
create
I'm
something
a
that works for you.
recruiter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm a recruiter, but I only do W-2 permanent placement. And I mean, I'm a huge fan of this, just streamlining the entire
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
It's easy and it's shocking what a difference. And people don't realize this, but like when you go from your recruiting pool of 100,000 people locally to 3 million people, like instantly 3 million people, right? It's amazing the kind of talent you can get in touch with and how easy it can be to filter them out really, really quickly and easily. And yeah, really makes a difference.
Yeah, and I'll add something else too that you just said that triggered this for me. A lot of times I'll hear from people, well, when you hire someone, it takes about 6 months to onboard them. Somewhere in law school, law firms heard this. Oh, I'm not going to see an ROI. It's going to take me 6 months to, right? Like you're
Gosh.
shaking your head like, no. That's what I love about this process too, is that you will know within a week, 2 weeks tops, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And so I mean, if it's not going to work out, you get signs pretty quickly, right? For me, I try really hard to make it work out. So today I'm letting someone go who I hired a couple months ago because I've been trying to make it work out, even though I had signs right from the beginning after I hired him, which was so odd because I'm really good at this. But even me, sometimes it still doesn't, I still get it wrong, right? It's rare, and I had signs right from the beginning. And I try really hard to make it work out. Where other people, it's like, oh my gosh, right from the beginning, like, yes, 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 right? So you'll get that really quickly.
Exactly. No more 6 months to onboard, gang.
Oh, yeah, that's
No way. That sounds terrible and
yeah.
painful and expensive. So no.
But not that expensive, right?
No. Yeah. Yeah. If you're
It's not,
hiring in the Philippines, absolutely.
yeah.
Tell our listeners how they can follow your journey and stay connected and find out more about your work in OnlineJobs.PH.
So I spend most of my time skiing or with my kids or with my wife or my family or riding bikes, mountain bikes. I don't do social media. So you can follow me on social media. It's either someone in the Philippines making the post or my wife making the post. It's not me. If you really want to get, I mean, if you want to like follow me, that's fine. JohnJonas.com has my newsletter, and my newsletter goes to like 150,000 people 3 times a week. It's
It's
really, really
amazing.
good. We try really hard to make it educational and entertaining. I get feedback every day saying this is the only newsletter that I still read. That's the best way. Is if you want to follow me, is johnjonas.com, opt into the newsletter. But realistically, you don't need to follow me unless you want the education. I really just want you to hire someone on OnlineJobs.PH. And if you want the help hiring someone, then onevaoa.com is me walking you through the process. What I say is start to finish, like buying the course, going through the course, posting the job, doing the interviews. You can have someone hired in 2 to 3 hours of total time of yours. It may be 3 hours across a week, 10 minutes here, 5 minutes there, but like you shouldn't spend a bunch of time doing this, either educating yourself or doing the interview process. It's not that hard. So
No.
that's at onevaoa.com.
No excuses. It's not that hard. It's not that expensive. It doesn't take that much time. So all of the barriers are removed for you, attorneys, paralegals, marketing coordinators, whoever's listening to this. If you are not the decision maker, but you know that you are getting crushed, that we're all too busy, that we're running around playing whack-a-mole all day, go to your attorney and say, let me take this on. Let me take all the burden off you at $69 to hire a recruiter, by and large.
And if you have a question or they have questions about it, check out. So I put this together. ofsguide.com is the top 9 questions I get asked. And if you're not the decision maker, you go to the attorney, they're going to ask you, well, can they actually do good work? Or what are the tax implications of this? Or how do we find someone good? And I answer all those questions at ofsguide.com.
Okay. We're going to have all the links in the show notes. I cannot, as you all know, many of you all have interacted with my teams and I get compliments every single day. So I am walking, talking ambassador, and I'm walking my talk with this. I have replaced virtually my entire US based team with Filipinos, and it's a best decision, game changer for my business. Thank you for creating this extraordinary resource. I truly am so grateful. It's changed my business in numerous ways.
Thank you so much. I love it.
Yes.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. All right. Until next time, no more excuses. As you all know, you are not allowed to say that you are too busy, because the moment that you're not busy, you're out of business. So it's about what you're doing with your time, and delegate to elevate. We've reached the end of yet another episode of the Hire and Empower with Molly McGrath podcast, where dream teams of entrepreneurs in an entrepreneur's world really do come true. Listen, whether you're a business owner, employee, executive, or hiring manager, we fully understand hiring, onboarding, and leadership is expensive, exhausting, often overwhelming, and absolutely time-consuming for the already taxed professional. Well, we have your back on all fronts. For 25 years and counting, we have transformed over 4,000 law firm teams into the most efficient, resourceful, and profitable asset of your business. Check out our Smart Hire solution, our employee leadership program, and the 66-day law firm turnaround at hiringandempowering.com.